Good morning, coffee moaners. Good morning to you. Welcome if you're listening on podcast. Charlotte Bond, thank you very much. We are all going to virtually sing happy birthday to Mark. I can hear it. I can hear it. Oh, yes. Keep singing. Keep singing. If you're listening on podcast, you might not be able to hear it. Santa can hear it too. Thank you so much. I've had so many lovely messages, so many lovely cards. I'm hanging out with the family later. Oh, so lovely. So lovely. Thank you, guys. Happy birthday. Thank you. I'm happy, but I always, whenever I see happy birthday, I immediately say, I've got hair somewhere. What's going on? You know, when you get one of those, ooh, oh, there it is there. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Ellery Jones. Thank you, Margaret O'Brien. Anyone who's come for hardcore news, cutting straight to the chase, apologies. Just indulging a little bit, just soaking up a little bit of the old birthday glory. Thank you very much. Thank you. Got some lovely messages, lovely stories, lovely cards, lovely messages, lovely hugs, just lovely stuff. I even was with my mother half an hour last night before the bell tolled for my birthday. My mum was quick to remind me, weren't you, Ma? You would have been in all sorts of agony, squeezing my enormous head out of your tiny body. Morning, Russ. Thank you so much. Morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So what we're going to be chatting about today, we're going to be chatting about Trump. We're going to be chatting about Epstein. I'm afraid we're going to be talking about micro penises. We're going to be talking about NASA really embarrassing itself. Did anyone join me on my live last night? Has anyone seen my live chat? I was going to go live with NASA. Thank God I didn't. It was like a 1975 episode of Open University with a really bad flip chart. It was just awful. Thank you so much. I am feeling the love. Thank you so much. I really am. Thank you. And you guys really are just a wonderful community, and you provide us with such comfort and company and warmth. So thank you so much. So we're going to have another NASA about NASA, have a laugh at them. Do check it out. I did a sort of 15-minute live last night, straight after their press conference. We're going to talk about Starmer the GIMP. Starmer's posted something, and Annie Lennox posted it or reposted part of it. And I want to share it with you because I want to know what you think. It's a post that he's uploaded to his son. And, you know, it's that weird thing often when me and the family and I don't know if anyone else here gets it. If you post something publicly to members of your family, people go, oh, don't think this is the right place for it. I think we had to block someone who said exactly that recently. What people don't seem to realize is there's both the public place where you post stuff, which is nice because we all live in a social media sort of age and it's kind of fun and lovely and it's a show of love back to the other person and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's an assumption by people when they kind of respond to public shows of affection on social media. It's something I want to talk about. That and whilst I'm saying all of this, I don't necessarily think this is applicable to what Starmer's uploaded. That's why I'm interested in this. But I just want to explain by means of, you know, like yesterday on Nadia's birthday, I posted a little montage because the tool and the platform allows itself for our lovely community and people who enjoy following us and we enjoy following others. It's a little kind of, oh, look at this, isn't it lovely? But some people, like the person we had to block recently, seem to think that that's the only expression of intimacy. There you get that. It's so weird. It's like, no, we don't just post this. Why is it done in public? Why can't this be said privately? Well, it is. It's said privately and publicly, you donuts. It's like when we first set up the channel and people were like, oh, you're only filming an hour of 24 hours of your life. Don't get me started. Not that anything's been said or anything today, but it's curious because I want to show you an upload on Keir Starmer's Instagram, which made me think about all these things because I think, a response or have a response to it that I'm guessing maybe is the response that people who have a negative response to anyone showing love or kind of connection online has. But weirdly, I do think it's different in this instance. Anyway, I'll make it all clear when I show you the clip. And we are going to just tickle at the edges of the trans bias row, not because I necessarily want to get involved in trans rights and the kind of the political football and the culture kind of games that are being played with this. But I was just pulling to a screeching halt this morning as Nick Ferrari on LBC was going, oh, you know, once again, trans bias, Ofcom, BBC, complaints, Telegraph, written an article, lots of trans issues, promoting trans bias, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, hang on a minute. Here's Nick Ferrari going on about it. There's the Telegraph going on about it. The Times going on about it. you know, GB News going on about it. But hang on a minute, we have evidence, first-hand evidence, proof and testimony that the leader of a party in this country that is set to become the largest party in this country was an admirer of and dressed like and sort of engaged in sort of spreading the ideas of Hitler. I'm talking about Farage. It's like, if there was a story to be talked about this morning, I don't think it's like the let's construct another reason to attack the BBC. It's like, well, let's fucking talk about the fact that the leader of one of our major parties was a goose-stepping fascist admirer when he was at school. Just a thought. Maybe pivot towards that. So anyway, so we're going to talk about that too. I've got lots of clips. And I've also got a clip which I want to show and I want to talk about, because we're never going to leave the appalling unfairness and hypocrisy and well, genocidal madness of what's happened to the Palestinians. I want to show you some footage of a speech or a talk in which Barack Obama's one of his speechwriters demonstrates such a profoundly prejudiced, jaundiced, limited, intellectually fucked understanding of what anti-Semitism is. So there you go, nice like numbers for a birthday. Someone said the other day, I think Dawny said, Nads, I think we did all sorts of kind of grisly, gruesome topics. And once again, here we are, grisly and gruesome, but with a lightness of touch, I hope, that you'll find entertaining. But on that, thanks again for my birthday messages. It's very nice. This is going to be frustrating for those of you listening on podcast. I like to surround myself with the tokens and iconography of alcoholism, because I don't drink, 21 years sober. But look, I've got this jail ale. For those of you who follow us, you'll have seen I think we picked that up whilst we were in Devon or something like that. Don't know why. Just like find that funny. It's a shit time at the moment, says Russ Souch, isn't it? Russ, mate, what a load of old Rustox. Okay, so Donald Trump, Epstein files. It's everything. So hard to keep up with this, isn't it? It's so hard to keep up with this. So the latest headlines are these, or this: Trump signs bill to compel release of more Epstein documents. The Justice Department now has 30 days to release all Epstein files after Trump signs bill. Theoretically, that all sounds fantastic, doesn't it? But as Musical Chimp says, the classic word here is redacted. The other classic aspect to this is that he's instigated lots and lots of investigations into the democratic hoax. It's like the Russia. It's the democratic hoax. And in instigating those investigations, there's a feeling and a fear that a lot of the files are going to get tied up in red tape and legalistic kind of inability to gain access to them. But I just want to show you this clip. This is curious. This was filmed on a yacht by someone presumably quite posh off the coast of Epstein's Island. And this only landed in the last 24 hours. So this makes you, I don't know why, you just feel like there's a frenzied, frantic fear at work. And given that there's 30 days, is it 30 days to release them, or is it 30 days to doctor them? Is it 30 days to release the Epstein files, or 30 days to redact them? Is it 30 days to release the files, or is it 30 days to ensure that most of the really important files are tied up in legalistic red tape? I wonder. And also, let's check out this footage. This is, believe it or not, footage filmed off the coast of the Epstein Island. Okay? By, I don't know, possibly incredibly wealthy people who own an island nearby. I mean, it's curious, isn't it? It's a thing, this, isn't it? Richard Branson owns an island out there too. I think he's mentioned in the files too, isn't he? But check this out. And what they film and what they see and what we witness on the island, Epstein's Island, the infamous island, because don't forget, none of the files existed, but now they do, because Trump's instigated to release them. 1 minute they're a hoax, the next minute they don't exist, the next minute they're on a desk, and the next minute they're being released. Can't keep up with this story at all. But check this footage out. FBI agents actively on Epstein's Island.
Morning, everyone. It's Monday morning, August 12th, and we just sailed over from St. John, and we are approaching Greece.
apologies, it's not recent, but it's recent enough.
St. James and Little St. James, seeing the FBI on the dock as we put down the mainsail. It looks like the FBI agents have arrived on Little St. James. They seem to be walking the grounds.
So apologies, I thought it was more recent footage, but obviously it's August the 12th. But it just shows you that FBI agents are everywhere, have been everywhere. This has been happening this year. So we will, the extent to which we're going to see, we're going to hear, we're going to know, we're going to find anything out is highly, highly dubious. I just want to share this clip with an interview. I think this is either on Fox or on American TV. Listen to this.
With you guys, I actually went through the files this weekend in depth. Donald Trump is not only named over and over in them, it is discussed this trial in which he was accused of raping a 13-year-old at Epstein's house. There is extensive discussions about a subpoena of Donald Trump in one of Jeffrey Epstein's cases in which he was accused for rape and sexual abuse. He was subpoenaed and gave a deposition in that case. There is extensive discussion between Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Mr. Wolf about not only Trump coming to his house, but Epstein says in these emails that he has photographs of Trump with girls.
It's funny, isn't it? As you hear more and more stuff come out, you can see more and more pundits and more people kind of being caught like that. What do we say? Because everyone's sort of still scared, aren't they? They're scared of Trump. So again, he might not have gone to the island. He might not. I mean, a number of us in the community have suggested that maybe he hasn't been caught doing anything, but he's in this. He's in there somewhere. He's in there a lot. He's mentioned, he's referenced, it's financial, it's donors, it's inextricably entwined with Israeli intelligence. It's a nasty, nasty mess. And the way in which so my thing is this. I can't help but feel that all this sudden transparency and a sudden about turn to kind of release everything speaks to desperation, yes, but also a belief that they can obviously twist and turn this so that it doesn't incriminate Trump. What you've got to understand is a lot of what Trump says is true when it comes to Epstein was very intimate with the Democrats. There were many Democrats that supported Epstein. He said, there's constantly the suggestion that Epstein supported the Democrats. This speaks to, again, this ludicrous idea. Any Americans in the room, do you agree that there's any kind of notional, real fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans? It's such a, in terms of things like Israel and genocides and world control and America, you can hardly put a piece of paper between the two of them. It's kind of like it's just slightly different political hues that keep the system going and keep the swamp of Washington, holding the entire population under its boot, if you like. And I think the feeling and the fear and the hope with Trump was that he would be different. And now he's got caught in this quagmire of self-involvement and how he actually needs all the people in the swamp to keep him in power. That's the problem. He's inextricably entwined with all of it. So I don't see this sudden transparency, the sudden voting, the sudden kind of speeches, Trump saying, I've ordered the release of them. It's like, well, why now? What has obviously happened in the background to make you feel, if not exactly safe, then a little bit safer? And sorry, thank you for reminding me, Mitchell. That was the point I was going to make. What you have to understand is that Trump very much moved in Democratic circles. I'm pretty sure did he not donate to the Clintons or, Bill Clinton in one of his campaigns? I think he identified more as a Democrat back then than he did necessarily as a Republican, which is why when he came onto the political stage, he was very much more considered a sort of independent candidate. He was a Democrat, wasn't he? Yeah, absolutely. So I think, and so he's flip-flopped. And so this kind of, this demonizing the Democrats as a Democratic hoax, he was in there. He was involved too. I think what we have to get off, we have to shake this. I was talking to my mother about this last night. He might be in there, he might not be in there, but that's kind of irrelevant. I think everything that could be revealed by a full transparency of the files that don't get tied up in legalistic stuff in New York, don't get hidden, don't get redacted, don't get deleted, don't get I don't know, wiped and washed in this facility in Virginia. Regardless of, you know, whether there's literally a smoking gun or a photograph or a PP tape, as they call it, or, you know, someone blowing bubba and all the rest of it, the financial connections, the business connections, and the inextricable kind of entwining of everyone is so potentially, you know, scandalous, illegal, frightening, and will speak to everything we've been talking about in terms of Israel's omnipresent sort of control of everything. That's the stuff that they're worried about. That's the stuff that they're worried about. So yeah, you know, so you've got people appearing on TV referencing the alleged rape, Trump's raping of a 13-year-old young woman, and it's amazing that that can even be spoken about, and it still doesn't really stick. I just want to show you this clip about Trump's approval ratings.
Approval rating falling to 38%. That is the lowest it's been in his second term. People are unhappy with Trump's handling of consumer prices and, yes, the Epstein files. Kim Strassel joining us this morning. Does this mean Trump's affordability messaging isn't working yet?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, Stuart. And this is a huge wake-up call for Republicans. And if you actually look at Trump's approval rating, it actually has been sliding for a while. And I think what happened here is voters had a lot of optimism that he really was going to turn around the economy. And they've given him, you know, 9 months now, and they've been waiting. But suddenly they've been looking around, and things really haven't improved to the degree that they thought they would on cost of living. Yeah, I mean, gas prices down in some areas of the country. There are some glimmers of good news here and there. But overall, he's not performed, and that's what the polls are saying. He's not lived up to people's expectations. So Republicans, they got a lot of work to do in a short period of time before the midterms.
No, it's the way he just pivoted that towards affordability on Fox. That was great, wasn't it? Let's avoid Epstein and all the other stuff. Sharon Carter, he asked for investigation into people to tie files up, absolutely, and then said release them. Now they've got 30 days to scrub them clean of everything that could hurt them. I mean, surely that's how it feels. That's surely how it presents to even Trump's base. It's so sort of palpably obvious what they're up to. I'm just going to show you this clip. This is, everything's tightening for Trump. You know, everyone's commenting on it. Everyone that was previously supportive of him is querulous, questioning. This is quite a funny little trail or tease to an upcoming podcast that Tucker Carlson's appearing on. There was something about this. Tucker Carlson, whatever you think of him, I find his laugh utterly infectious.
All right, here we go. Congress passed they want to release the files, the Senate does, and just the guy to talk to today about it. You ready to do this shit?
I'm ready, man.
Let's do it.
Checking it on the chaos on my phone.
I don't know why. I mean, whatever you think of Tucker Carlson, I find that quite funny. Checking up on chaos on my phone. It feels like that, doesn't it? I mean, every time. I mean, unfortunately, for anyone with a phone addiction, but anyone with a news addiction, you just refresh your phone, you refresh your feed, you refresh almost every news outlet, even the mainstream media, and you are hit by revelation after revelation after revelation. But I just want to play you this clip on the Joe Rogan show.
The Epstein files.
I heard there's no files. I heard it's a hoax. And then all of a sudden, he's going to release the files. Well, I thought there was no files.
Man.
He wants an investigation now.
Listen.
Like, what is going on?
They voted 427 to 1.
Who was the one?
Whoa, who's the one?
I didn't see why he said, but he did.
National security.
Let me pull it
No
up.
fucking way you gonna be the one. No, if you found out all of Congress voted for something and you the only one that didn't, can you change your vote? You can't be the one, guy.
It should be that it has to be like no one can know what the vote is before you do it.
Bro, I would love to hear his reason. How you the one?
Well, I was feeling like let's move past it and let's get on with our business. And
you can't move past it.
These billionaires are good people. Okay,
you can't move past it.
They're good,
Clay
solid people.
Higgins was the one.
Who?
Clay Higgins.
Where's he out of?
It just, everyone is questioning. That's the point. Joe Rogan, instrumental in getting Trump into power. Tucker Carlson, instrumental. Marjorie Taylor Greene, instrumental. And, it's coming away at the seams. It's coming apart at the seams. I mean, we've got I just thought I'd have a little kind of mosey over at Donald Trump's Truth Social this morning, his latest post. Let's have a little look-see. We've got another attack on why does ABC fake news keep Jimmy Kimmel, a man with no talent and very poor television ratings? Well, ratings are so important to Trump. He needs to check out his own ratings on his favorite channel, Fox. Why did the TV syndicates put up with it? Also, totally biased coverage. Get the bum off the air. I mean, it's getting a bit tired. It's becoming a bit kind of retro, isn't it? Even his own rants. In rather disappointing other news, Ronaldo is a great guy. He's uploaded a sort of AI footage of fake ball control. Loved meeting him at the White House. Really smart and cool. President DJT. And we've potentially got all sorts of fireworks coming tomorrow. Because listen to this, communist mayor of New York City, Zoran Kwame, I said that right, Kwame Mamdani, has asked for a meeting. We've agreed that this meeting will take place at the Oval Office on Friday, November 21st. Further details to follow. I mean, who thinks Trump meeting Mamdani in the Oval Office, who thinks it's going to go smoothly? Who thinks Mamdani is going to be able to hold his cool, maintain his the smile? Is it a bear trap? Could we be looking at a Zelensky situation? Is it private or is it public, Donna Holland? That's a very good point. I'd have thought Trump always likes this shit to go public. And you can rest assured he's going to try and humiliate him. He's going to try and provoke him. He's going to surely he's going to try and poke the bear. So there's old Trumpy on Truth Social. Just briefly and just quickly, a number of stories flying around, and I do need to give a trigger warning because I'm about to show an image or a couple of images that include Epstein in a pair of budgie smugglers. Quite a few people, including my own dear darling mother-in-law, Betty, said, did you see the story about the Hitler's DNA? There's a lot knocking about micro penises or deformed tiny penises. Jeffrey Epstein apparently allegedly had a tiny, extremely deformed penis shaped like a lemon, said a victim. Awkward moment. Jeffrey Epstein, I do remember seeing this in the documentary of the footage, is asked about his egg-shaped penis in resurfaced video and his creepy reaction. The New York Post, that beacon of journalistic integrity, have asked the question, what is a micropenis? All about the condition that may have plagued Hitler and Jeffrey Epstein. And I think quite understandably, my mother-in-law asked the question, do you think there's a connection between tiny deformed penises and male aggression? And I just wanted to ask, I said, you know what, Betty, I think I might ask our community that question. It's the kind of question I think you'd be good at. What a repulsive thought to think about his penis, but my God, one does, and as I understand it, there's is it Channel 4 project documentary. They've checked the DNA of Hitler and he apparently did only have one ball and all the rest of it. Donna Holland, they say Trump's is also only 3 inches. Yeah, I'm not allowed to say something I know. Literally, I'm not allowed to say something I know. Legally, I'm not allowed to say something I know, but there we go. Sounds made up to me, says DP. And again, this is a real condition for some people. This isn't to throw shade on that, but I just wonder whether, their circumstances in any way, and it's not the case for all men who have these, whether it could have in any way fuel their twistedness. In a sense, that's just a question. Right now, just quickly going over to NASA, I just want to talk about this a little bit more, just because I was absolutely flabbergasted by how insipid, uninspiring, and actually it was a dereliction of scientific duty, I thought, last night. NASA's so-called press conference, live update and release of their images, their high definition images taken from the Mars high-rise camera of the interstellar object 3I Atlas. Now, I want to stress to those of you who aren't kind of just checking out that content, I've done a couple of interviews with the Harvard professor Avi Loeb, who has talked at great length about the anomalies and the things that make this comet not seem like a normal comet. And I did a live last night in response to NASA, who basically finally, after the government shutdown, a lot of kind of sort of delay and a wringing of hands, etc. A lot of people were kind of beginning to get into conspiracy theories of, oh my God, they've got evidence of alien tech and they're not showing it, and da-da-da-da. Well, you couldn't have had a more disappointing damp squib of a press conference last night. I'm just going to show you an image, just a freeze frame I took of the 4 people who were responsible for doing it. These were they. Never a more sort of, I'm loath to say this because obviously they're all scientists and they all work for NASA. Nothing individually or personally wrong about any of them. I love a pair of bright laces just like the next person. All 4 of them felt unacross their brief. They were uninspiring. They were unimaginative, and they said nothing and they told us nothing that we didn't or don't already know. The irony of the situation is that people like the professor from Harvard and other sort of amateur astronomers who are, monitoring this object aren't saying with any definitive, certainty it's alien tech or it's ET. Obviously, lots of ufologists want it to be that. Lots of people are excited that it could be that, but actually it would be quite petrifying if it is. But I think Avi Loeb said on interview with one of the major kind of American broadcasters last night, and I'm hoping to talk to him again next week once he's kind of done a bit more analysis on what I'm about to show you, because I'm about to show you, for those of you who saw it last night, I do apologize. I'm going to show you once again the image that was kind of the big drum roll and the big reveal. What they didn't do last night was attend to any of the anomalies. And in fact, they acknowledged 1 or 2 of them, and then didn't say anything. All they kept saying was, this is behaving like a normal comet, though it's presenting many things that aren't like normal comets. There was nothing. It just felt sort of very limited, very blinkered, very insipid. There was no enlightenment. There was no analysis. There was no open-ended questions. It was all kind of closed off thinking. But I'm going to show you now the image that they showed is this. This is the high definition remarkable image. Now, in the spirit of kind of, being fair, it's the closest camera to a fast moving object. And so it was never going to be particularly clear, but better images have been got by amateur astronomers on Earth. And I was amazed that they didn't in any way seek to show any sort of other images from anywhere else to demonstrate what their knowledge. It might not have been their images. This very much felt like we need to just show you what we've taken, but what they'd taken wasn't very impressive. What kicked off online was very funny. Someone posted this saying, look, I just took this out on my street. And it's a set of streetlights in fog. Hugely reminiscent of the 2, which I think is quite funny. Amateur Astronomer Agency on the left took this. The image with a cometary tail and a jet, and you can see another one coming out. And then $70 billion space program on the right gives us that. Again, different lenses, one from the ground, one from within space. So you've got to give them that. Michael Rossi, someone online, said, if you want us to believe that this below is a photograph of the Eagle Nebula captured by the James Webb Telescope 7,000 light years away, but this blurry crap is the best we can offer for 3I Atlas. I think there was just a resounding sigh of disappointment. It's not about whether, they were caught on the hoof or whatever. Yeah, it was just a sigh of disappointment. This is an image. This is interesting. This is what Hubble telescope is capable of taking when it comes to asteroids. So they did take this back in 2010, which again speaks to the disappointment of what they did get on the left. And Ray's astrophotography, which is quite a highly rated. If you're looking at an image now where, again, we've got the NASA high-rise image that they, with great drama, though it was anti-drama, revealed last night on the left. Ray's astrophotography is the image on the right. That's the most recent image taken from a land-based telescope. And as you can see, there are sort of curiously 5 smaller dots around a central nucleus, which again doesn't necessarily speak to it being, technology or technological. But these anomalies are anomalies, and none of these 4 in any way engaged with any of the questions. They didn't tackle or ask any questions or try to dig into the bits about this that we didn't know. And so all they did was tell us everything we already know. So there was, and the reason I wanted to just mention it again is that we all as a community, I think, have got on board with and understand how the mainstream media has a vested interest in portraying and presenting narratives in a certain way. So they can control responses, they can manipulate feelings, they can limit the truth. And I just felt that last night NASA did absolutely nothing to dissuade anyone from thinking that they are merely there as an obstruction, actually, to authenticity, to real analysis, etc. So, it was unforgivable. It was an embarrassment. It was actually a dereliction of duty. A couple of people online again. Sometimes the comments are funnier than their little stunt with the 3-eye atlas, says someone called Casey Armstrong Data yesterday, was ridiculous. It's completely unlike anything we've ever seen, but it's a comet. That's what they said. I mean, they said it's completely unlike anything we've ever seen, but it's a comet. What? How do we know it's a comet if it's unlike anything we've ever seen? Just do any questions. Actual press conference is over. So I just think, actually, now lots and lots of people like Brian Cox will go, see, NASA have said it's just a comet with zero analysis. But even if you can find the bits that make it comet-like, why aren't they focusing on all the bits that are anomalous? That's all the, our chum, Harvard University, Professor Avi Loeb, that's all he's asking. Attend to the anomalies. Let's talk about the anomalies, because presumably the more interesting science here is in the anomalies. And doesn't it strike anyone as strange that as a space agency, as a science exploration agency, they're only interested in finding all the bits that concur with stuff they already know? It's so weird. It's so anti-exploratory. It's so anti-investigative. It's so anti-open-minded. And the principal point there I make is it's anti-exploratory. It's wrong. It's irresponsible to only focus on the bits that prove something we already think we know, rather than turning to all the bits that say something new. And there were points when I was watching this where I thought, these people are fucking automatons. Anyway, you could take a better picture of the moon on a Motorola circa 1994. So anyway, I just wanted to have another little bite of the cherry there. Okay, let's talk about Starmer. Let's talk about what I was talking about earlier. What do we think of the posting of tributes, messages, montages, and stuff and such like on social media to loved ones? We do it a lot as a family. Nadia will post something to someone if it's a birthday. Lots of Nadia's friends posted and sent lots of little films and images and bits of music and messages as stories. I've received several this morning. I posted a montage of Nads with funny photos, etc. And I just thought, when one does these things, one's thinking, oh, there's a lot of people who love her. I love her. And I just want to share how lovely she is and, do something nice for her. And it being in a public realm isn't about showing. It's this idea that somehow you're showing off or you're being insincere. You can be sincere in a public facing way. You may be less less vulnerable maybe, or less real, but you can have different levels of sincerity for different marketplaces, in a sense. Do you know what I mean? You can be public facing. So for example, I'm not gonna post a selfie of me flat out on my back with my chin like that, looking like that, because it's just unpleasant. But anyway, so I just want to play this. So Starmer posted this on his Instagram. We may cut out early just because it might get a bit boring, but he posted this morning, and I was just drawn to it because Annie Lennox made a really good point when she reshared it. And I just want, whilst I'm playing it, I'm going to find what she said.
A letter to my son. It feels like only yesterday that we brought you home. So nervous, but so excited for the journey ahead. Today, almost unbelievably, you're already 17. You're taller than I am. And you've grown into a confident, kind, wonderful young man. And I'm so proud of you. Now, I didn't have a very close relationship with my own dad. When my mum, your grandma Jo, was sick, and she was very sick, He cared for her devotedly, but he and I never really spoke. We never really got to know each other. And I was determined that my relationship with you was going to be different. And spending time with you is one of the highlights of my week, whether it's a takeaway or going to watch the Arsenal. I do know it's not easy growing up in this day and age. I know there are pressures on young men that are difficult to talk about, and questions that frankly are difficult to answer. Questions about mental health, masculinity, social media. I remember when we watched Adolescence together, and as a dad, that was tough to see at times. But if there's one hope I have, it's that we keep talking, keep learning from each other, keep helping each other.
Okay, I'm just going to pause there just because it goes on for quite a while. It's interesting just to see some of your comments. I just want to share your thoughts first, really. MeTube, this should be a new tradition. Parents writing letters to coming-of-age children. The right wing talk about traditions. Time for some new ones. I think, in principle, that's a good idea. I think he may have issues to resolve. Oh, okay, Donna, I'm going to have to be careful around some of those comments there. Sorry, I know what you're saying. If only, Donna Holland, if only he showed the same compassion and love for the people of our country. Unforeseen, I think it's absolutely fine. Russ Souch, I just think this is wrong timing, poor decision on him and his team. Steph Schultz, good point. Because it's a politician, we don't always trust the reasons they post, even if it's genuine. I think you're right. I think Steph Schultz, for me, is kind of on the money there. Annie Lennox reposted it saying, and I entirely agree with what Annie says, "Dear Mr. Prime Minister, I'm writing to you in all sincerity, wondering, as I have done for over 2 years, whether you have any humanity and how you can possibly sleep comfortably at night. Now you send a touching public birthday message to your son, which you could easily have said in private," which is kind of in a way sort of commenting in the same way that I am about public shows of affection. "Don't you realize how obviously transparent this piece of propaganda is, trying to show the British public that you're human after all? So deeply ironic and tone deaf. While millions of good citizens have been protesting and calling out the genocide of children in Gaza, you've had them arrested for peacefully holding protest signs. Thousands of 17-year-old precious sons have been targeted, bombed and butchered. Countless numbers of sons have been held and tortured in Israeli prisons for years without charge or trial. Perhaps you might want to consider how their fathers feel when they will never see them again. Stop sending weapons parts to Israel to kill children." And I think in a weird way, what Annie's talking about there, and I think what Steph Schultz mentions there, I think on the one hand, I think it's a lovely thing to do, a public show of affection, a sort of letter towards children. I think given that Starmer is under pressure, it can't, and given that he is a politician, and I think unfortunately this is part, and given that it's not just given that he's a politician, because for example, in a weird way, I think if Zach Polanski was to do something, it would be slightly different, because Starmer is a politician from a school of politics that has insincerity baked into it. There is always a strategy at work. There's always a focus group that's kind of been looked into or conducted to analyze what the right thing to do is. There's been a lot of criticism of him for his Donald, please change the music, change my outfit, change. And I've put in the title, it's GIMP Starmer, because the man has demonstrably failed in showing any humanity or warmth in any other realm. I would even argue somewhat in that the overstaged nature of it, with him poised, with pen in hand, oddly, I would argue that even the sense and the feeling of that message, which could, I think, as you say, MeTube, could mark an important thing to do, a new tradition, etc., etc. It feels bereft and devoid of any real warmth or authenticity. And I think authenticity is the problem. I think politicians seem and appear to be caught in some kind of strange AI-esque autonomous region where they are incapable of being human. It would seem until they're sort of much older. I just read what Annie Lennox said, Sonia Donovan, and so she's drawing a parallel, sort of saying, how can you be compassionate and how can you demonstrate this public affection and be incapable of demonstrating it? Well, the reason he can't demonstrate it in a political position is is the fear. It's the constant fear of being called this, called that, punished in this way, opposition parties saying he's supporting this or supporting that. It didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel genuine. It felt like those awful films we showed a few weeks ago of Kemi Badenoch and all the Tories walking towards camera and trying to present with purpose, Genrick and all the like. So, I just think it's misguided, because Starmer can't carry warmth or depth. However much he sat at his table with a t-shirt on, however much he cheers at an Arsenal match, something's amiss. And I don't know what it is. Persephone Personified says maybe he has to write a letter because his son doesn't want to talk to him. Yeah, well, I wonder who created it. He's still a father. You're absolutely right, Mutu. He's probably not comfortable doing it, but he may want to. Yeah, but I think unfortunately, when you're the prime minister of the country, I think it's a different set of kind of circumstances, really, isn't it? Because I think inevitably, however that landed, it's going to be interpreted as potentially manipulative. The Starmer bot malfunction. Very, yeah, I don't know. Very, yeah. I mean, it's weird because I felt it put me, and it clearly put Annie Lennox, in the position that people say with us, if we post something nice about someone, people go, "Oh, why are you doing it in public?" It's like, well, if it's authentic, then it's not the only show of affection that we show, and the same will be true for him. This won't be the only message he sends to his son. I'm sure he sent one personally, or he talks to him. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't talk to him. Maybe that's why he needs to do it on Instagram. I don't know. It just didn't feel right for me. It doesn't feel like it lands correctly. It doesn't feel, weirdly, sincere, despite all of his attempt at sincerity. So weird. I just want to play you this speech before we move on to the trans bias route, and I just want to show you this speech. This is this woman was one of Obama's speechwriters, but I just could not. This tells you why and how one can't believe retrospectively that Obama was a much greater leader than when it comes to certain topics like the Middle East, etc. Let's just listen to this.
Since October 7th, but really before then, there have been huge shifts in America on how people think about Jews and Israel. And I think that is especially true of young people. So we are now wrestling with a new, I think, generational divide here. And I think that's particularly true in that social media is now our source of media. And this, it used to be that the media you got in America was American media. And
okay, so let's just pause. So she's about to set off on an attack of social media. So it used to be that the media you got before was American media. So this immediately, she's coming from a place where trust the mainstream media, folks. Yeah.
Mainstream. It generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views.
And it generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views because back then Israel hadn't pressed their foot down to the floor on the gas pedal when it came to a 2-year genocide of the Palestinians. You can't talk about being critical or hostile to Israel without acknowledging what Israel has done. But she's trying to.
Extreme anti-Israel views. You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media. But today we have social media, which is a global medium. Right? Its algorithms are shaped by billions of people worldwide who don't really love Jews.
Again, you've conflated really don't like what Israel have done as a nation to the Palestinians in committing a genocide. Has absolutely nothing to do with them being Jews. Nothing. A fraudulent connection, a lie, a manipulative connection from Obama's speechwriter.
Its algorithms are shaped by billions of people worldwide who don't really love Jews. And so while in the 1990s, a young person probably wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes.
So she's equated Al Jazeera with an extremist influencer. So she, once again, Al Jazeera, she's indulged in an Islamophobic anti-Muslim trope of characterizing any news that's kind of originated within any other culture other than the good old US of A as somehow fringe. Okay, so that's great. So, okay, this is really encouraging that this woman was one of Obama's speechwriters.
90s, a young person probably wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes. Today, those media outlets find them. They find them on their phones. It's also this increasingly post-literate media, less and less text, more and more videos.
Oh, post-literate, the inference being uneducated, incapable of thought, incapable of critical thinking. We've been helped towards a more visual understanding of an anti-Israel sentiment by the appalling footage that has come out of Gaza and the West Bank, demonstrating the appalling genocidal behavior of Israelis, and specifically images and posts by IDF soldiers that have been uploaded onto various social media platforms where they're celebrating the murder and destruction of Palestinian lives. So that's not illiterate. I think the promotion and the projection of the genocide has been projected and shown to us by the Israelis and IDF soldiers in an illiterate way and a visual way.
You have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains all day long with video of carnage in Gaza.
But as you yourself have said, there's carnage in Gaza. You're not allowed to report from there. So one isn't allowed to say words from there. Journalists aren't allowed in there. And the journalists on the ground in there are routinely executed by the Israelis. So the visual carnage of Gaza is the illiterate work of, I would say, a barbaric nation. But you're complaining about this. You're complaining that this is the fault of those who see this. It's the fault of us having eyes.
Of carnage in Gaza. And this is why so many of us can't have a sane conversation with younger Jews, because anything that we try to say to them, they are hearing it through this wall of carnage.
No, what's happened is the vast majority of Jewish people in the world, so you've just totally contradicted this idea that it's hate towards Jews, because the vast majority of rational thinking humanitarian Jewish people around the world are as appalled and as ashamed and horrified by what they've seen online and what Israel has done, that they too are anti-Israel. They're not young, illiterate Jews refusing to engage with you.
I want to give data and information and facts and arguments, and they are just seeing in their minds carnage, and I sound obscene. And, I think, unfortunately, the very smart, bet that we made on Holocaust education to serve as anti-Semitism education, in this new media environment, I think that is beginning to break down a little bit, because, Holocaust education is absolutely essential.
But it appears that Holocaust education is only essential when it's applicable to one group of people. It would appear that Israel is seeking a monopoly on the intellectual property of the concept of holocausts and genocides. They can only happen to Jewish people or Israeli people in the Israeli government's eyes, and no one else. You don't have copyright or a patented ownership of the concept of Holocaust or genocide.
But I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews. And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-Black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless Black people. So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel.
No, but what they're seeing is aggressive, malevolent, vicious, genocidal, barbaric Israeli soldiers and Israeli ministers promoting the elimination and removal of Palestinians and the refusal to acknowledge a two-state solution. She's caught in a web of intense contradictions. On the one hand, she's trying to say that what's being pumped out on social media is wrong and jaundiced, but at the same time, she's acknowledging that the vast majority of what's being pumped out on social media is being pumped out on social media because it's happening. It's because it's happening. Hurt people hurt people. And what's most petrifying about this woman was she was one of the key speechwriters in the Barack Obama presidency. Don't for a minute think that there was any shift in emphasis or regime when the likes of Blair in our country and Obama in that country, America, came into power. It's just slightly different hue of the same fucking imperialist, colonialist, Western exceptionalism and Zionism. Nothing more different. She's furious and frustrated and annoyed that young people and young Jews are looking at the evidence, whether it be illiterate or literate, and going, this is wrong. Oh, so frustrating and disappointment. Okay, so today's headlines. Let me just move on. So yeah, so just going to the trans bias thing. The reason I wanted to mention Farage, everyone going on about trans bias, everyone going on about the fact that the Labour Party aren't revealing the exact terms of guidance when it comes to trans women using, you know, shared spaces, public spaces. The story is that essentially, and also a lot of people, Ofcom too, a lot of parents, a lot of people are writing to, complaining, putting pressure on the BBC for its promotion or its perceived promotion of trans bias. And that it's infiltrating into the minds of children, and it's kind of inveigling its way into their minds and hypnotizing them and turning them into trans. I mean, I just want to just step back for a minute. When I was younger and I was at school, I think it was Section 28 was brought in by the Thatcher government, I think. Our teachers, we all went on strike. Well, we didn't go on strike, we were students. Our teachers went on strike, we marched with them. Section 28 was a law which wanted to actively remove the promotion of homosexuality in the classroom. There's a difference between promotion of anything and education, just being taught stuff. I mean, don't get me on that though. There's also propaganda, etc., etc. I get it. But I remember a girl in my class, I think her name was Zara. She said this. She said, "Isn't it weird?" She said, "how they're suggesting that they can, they could teach us somehow." The fear was that you could teach children to be gay, right? Get this. And I remember Zara saying in our class, she said, "They can't even teach me history. So how the fuck are they going to teach me to be gay?" I thought that was quite witty and quite funny. And of course, as a child of a lesbian, parents, my mum and her girlfriend, it was kind of rattling when you thought, oh, right, okay, so I'm not allowed to be told that what's going on at home is normal. And it didn't feel normal for me. I mean, I had a lot of shame and fear and worry about coming out on my mum's behalf at school, etc., etc. So, this idea that the BBC is pro-trans or is engaged in trans propaganda is yet another attempt to hobble the BBC and compromise the BBC. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who are worried about this. Trans people could be banned from single-sex spaces based on how they look. The Times is reporting that they've seen the Equality Watchdog's final guidance, which Whitehall figures fear the release of it's being delayed due to a potential political backlash. The guidance was handed to ministers 3 months ago, but the Times, which has seen this, says that the guidance aims to preserve the dignity and safety of women. And one of the things that it's suggesting is that if someone looks, they're going to be able to question people on whether they can go into single-sex services based on how they look, their behavior, or concerns raised by others. Now, of course, I think the worry with that will be that, will people inaccurately, or will people in a prejudicial way try and say you're this, you're this, you're that, all this, and what have you? My problem with this is less going into the details of that per se, which again, these issues, we're talking again, it's like the migration asylum story. We're looking at tiny sections of society, not tiny as in the implications and that trans rights are need to be absolutely protected and looked after. But the idea that this is a problem for the whole nation, the spreading by the likes of Farage and the far right and the Telegraph and the Times, that this is a problem that infiltrates every single part of our lives and is the reason why we're all so unhappy and nothing's working and there are queues in the fucking NHS and toilets don't work. I mean, just find a toilet that's clean would be nice rather than anything in terms of who can use what, where, when, how. It's just ridiculous. Especially when, and that's why I go to Farage, a bigger story than the trans debate is the leader of one of our, potentially the biggest party in the country, And number 10 is right to call him out on this. Number 10 calls on Farage to urgently address the disturbing allegations of his past racist behavior. Former schoolmates say he used to say things like Hitler was right. Farage faces more allegations of racist behavior at school. Now, there's another question to be had here. He was an ardent supporter and advocate of Oswald Mosley. He was fascinated and obsessed with Hitler at school. We've heard this many times prior to this story breaking. Is that something he needs to address and talk about? I personally think it is, because we're talking about his, we're talking about a period of time in his life where his political ideology was being kind of formed and created. And I just think that's scarier than the very, very slim prospect and possibility of the wrong person, for whatever reason, and of whatever hue, going into the wrong single-sex toilet. I think, once again, it's red meat where we're being told to be fearful of these rare occasions. They're rare, and when they happen, they like asylum seekers who assault people, they need to be dealt with. But the focus put on the rarity of those moments versus the fact we've actually got the leader of a major political party who, by all accounts, through his youth, when his political ideas and ideologies were being created, was a huge, ardent fan, or was obsessed with, all things Hitler. I think that's more worrying. And I just think it's interesting that our right-wing media is avoiding that story like the plague, but still wants to put the boot down on the BBC. It's just ridiculous. Fiona Hennessy, they come after women, people with disabilities, people of color, poor people, gay people, immigrants, now trans, always taking the attention away from real issues. Section 28 says Abby Reid was dangerous. The non-promotion of LGBT people plus my straight parents didn't make me straight. There, good point. Well done. Yeah, well said. I am a female cis pensioner. I shave my head. Could easily be mistaken for a man. So are they going to ban me from toilets? I like that, Glynis. That's another way of pivoting it round. Ridiculous. When many toilets are mixed now, how do people cope with that? I just don't understand why we don't have I mean, I was in a restaurant the other day and it was just, they were all just mixed toilets but with cubicles. As long as there's cubicles and a shared area, then you can't micromanage all public toilets. Before the trans debate, the biggest threat to anyone in toilet cubicles were men. I remember as an 8-year-old going to a swimming pool in Dorset, and my uncle at the time, he's no longer my uncle, but my uncle at the time took me swimming. And a man in a urinal next to me when I was at the urinal started to flash himself and do things. And I got really upset. My uncle dragged me into a cubicle away from him and I heard him go out and thump the guy in the face. Men are a problem in shared public, toilets. Men are a problem. Men are a problem. But, just maybe make all cubicles, all toilets unisex. Cubicles for everyone. No, not even urinals. Just make all toilets private. Make all toiletry private. I don't think there's that. Could that solve it? Maybe it's perceptively or deceptively simple. Maybe too simple. I don't know. Anyway, guys, that's your lot. Thank you so much. Cubicles, please, says Kelly Maguire. When women restroom line is too long, I've used the men's many times. Why don't people talk about women in men's bathrooms? Persephone personified. Men indeed are the problem, says Sally Hatton. Okay, guys, look, thank you so much again for all of your birthday messages. Something else, I think another one of our Cornish vlogs is landing later. But thank you so much for all your messages. Thank you for joining me, and we will see you anon. Have a lovely day. Take care, guys.